You're listening to the Ward Weekly Podcast with our host, Walter Latham, and our co-host, Michelle Sweeney McCombs. Voices in society impacting the culture.
Hello, this is Walter Latham, and welcome to the Walt Weekly Live Podcast. I am your host, and I'm joined by Michelle Sweeney McCombs. This week's episode is called The Spoils of War. And that is because of what has happened at the Capitol and the threats and events that are leading up to next week, inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden and VP-elect Kamala Harris. Throughout history, war has had a decisive role in the evolution of our world. It is the ultimate risk-reward in that you lay everything on the table. In essence, you risk your life in exchange for treasure in the form of land, family, and the right to exploit resources. And above all, to wield power over those you have conquered. It is used to obtain freedom and remove oppression. So, what is the definition of war? War is a state of armed conflict between different nations or states or different groups within a nation or state. So, the attack on the Capitol was an act of war. So, we know that the winner can basically take what he wants. He can also, and this is illegal, he can also plunder those that he has conquered. This is the way it is and always will be. So let's put it in the context of what happened at our Capitol and the threats that appear evident in the upcoming days from the white supremacists like the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, Q-Anon, and the extreme right wing of the Republican Party. And that's just to name a few. They have started a war. So at the end of the day, if they lose, what should these guys forfeit? The groups attempting to overthrow the government are in fact at war with the United States of America.
Here.
So let's talk about the ramifications of winning or losing and why it poses an opportunity to those who have been treated less than American. So the spoils of war, that's the name of this show, the spoils of war. What is the definition of the spoils of war? They are profits or prizes someone takes during or after a war, either legitimately or illegitimately, as in the case of looting. So the legality of the concept is that the U.S. acquires the profits. Now listen to me. The U.S. acquires the profits or prizes as a result of winning a war against an enemy. Okay? In other words, because the U.S. won, the property then belongs to the U.S. fair and square. Where things get illegal is when soldiers invade enemy territory and then steal. So with the insurrection that we're facing now, if these people lose, which I pray to God they do, and I think we will overcome, then their property is forfeit. It belongs to the U.S. government. So if they own land, they got a farm, they got a store, they got bank accounts, they should be frozen and reallocated.
All right.
That's the price that they should pay, in addition to the laws that we have on our books, such as conspiracy, sedition conspiracy, trespassing, all these charges that we are considering, that the FBI is considering, the attorneys are considering about charging them with. So I would like to know, and that's what the discussion is going to be about today, is the implications of what these people are doing. and how we should go about rectifying and punishing these people. So with that said, let me turn it over to Michelle, and so that she can introduce the panel, and that will be the discussion today. It's very somber, and I really like to have fun, but I mean this is something that we have to consider and weigh it. You know. Okay, Michelle.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Walter, and welcome to the War Weekly Voices in the Community. Today's topic, again, is the spoils of war. It's sponsored by Black-owned women businesses, Beauty Blends by Ami, Soap and Love, and Michelle Sweeney here. Our intro and outro music is also brought to you by Uncle Nephew and BD3. Today, we have guest panel Greg Coleman out of North Carolina. He's the CEO of Illumination Media and Technology. Our next panel guest is Ernest J. Robinson out of Washington, D.C. He's a Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps, combat veteran, senior consultant at B. Ernest Leadership and Professional Consultant.
All right, Michelle went out, and she's having connectivity problems. Michelle, we can't hear you. Okay. All right. We're live, folks, and those things can be expected. Michelle should be back on shortly once she corrects her issue. But as I said today, the spoils of war. What are the ramifications? What should these people that attacked our capital? You back, Michelle? Okay. So we're gonna go right to the panel. All right. So most of our panel, y'all guys, both of you, you guys are military veterans. You fought for our country. Mm-hmm. So what is your take on what's going on right now? I'm gonna start with Ernest.
Well, I appreciate the question. What I've been able to see is, I think in what regard, because there's a lot that's happening right now. So, like, what specifically do we want to get at?
I don't want to be too broad, but specifically,
Right.
The attack and the plan in terms of the intelligence that the FBI and other agencies have been getting
yes.
Against the inaugural.
Yes. So as it relates to that, as it relates to the attack, this was completely coordinated. There may have been, I think there were probably fewer people who didn't know what was going on that did know what was going on. When with all of the intelligence that's been collected, for everyone who has been able to see what's on television, we have seen individuals with tactical gear on, military, police, uh, restraints, ropes, just things to cause damage. There was floor plans, blueprints, individuals who had firsthand knowledge of where some of the rooms are, what they were actually connected to. Me working in the congressional space for a few years now, I've walked many of these halls. I've been underground in the tunnels and everything. I still, to this day, could not tell you where some of those elected officials' offices are at. Nancy Pelosi's office is marked because she's the Speaker of the House, but I don't know where it's at specifically. These individuals outside knew exactly where to go and knew what to do. And I wanted to respectfully, tip my hat to all the men and women of the Metro Police Department, the Capitol Police, Supreme Court Police, the park rangers, everybody who helped to quell that insurrection that took place.
Okay. All right, Greg.
Yeah, from well, let's start from, like you said, from the military part of it. My military mind makes me, the first question I ask myself is how they got there. So when I'm looking at this thing happen, you know, I'm wondering how. Number one, nobody knew, and I didn't accept the top of the. I forgot what police department it was, and I believe it was the D.C. Metro Police. He said we didn't have any intelligence that would lead us to believe that this, was going to take place. Well, that to me is laughable, because you really did. You guys kind of threw the rank and file to the wolves.
Yeah,
The
they
one,
dropped
the
the ball.
Capitol
Yeah,
Police that was
yeah.
there, the DC Police that was there, they threw them to the wolves. And then secondly, I'm thinking, conspiratorially, I'm saying, okay, the the vice president was in that building. Okay, so I'm going to assume that the Secret Service is there with him,
Right.
and I would say that they had to assess the threat level going in. They had to feel pretty comfortable with what was going on in order for them to be in there with the vice president. So they had to think that there was a certain level of security in the midst of what was going on outside. Something had to make them stand down to the point where they can get in that building like that with Secret Service inside. Something. And that had to come from the top. That had to come from above the Secret Service to say, to get that place to the level of where it could be in jeopardy. It could be stormed just that easily, and that to me that's unsettling. And then to hear from a military vet that there were unauthorized tours going on in there during COVID when there's supposed to be no tours. Well, that says to me that this is we see things and we say this is an inside job. This was an inside job. It's just a matter of how far inside and how deep inside. And that to me is insulting.
Yeah,
Well,
because
hey, Greg, too.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Walt.
because there was a threat assessment issued by the FBI the day before, where they indicated that there was a major threat to the Capitol
Mm-hmm.
for that
We're
following
seeing
day, and nothing was done.
we're seeing that type of intel come from quite a few different agencies, and then add that to the fact that the governor of Maryland wanted to send in assistance, and he was put on hold, and while the mayor of DC was told to stand down, pretty much. But come on, all that coincidentally happened during something that you knew was coming. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah, Greg. I mean, yeah. To Greg's point, I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's not anything. There's no stone left unturned when it comes down to the protection of the two and the three in succession of the
Absolutely,
president of the United States.
that's right.
And furthermore, despite the fact, I mean, and there are reports that DC Mayor Muriel Bowser had said that not to send as many to support, that they had it. But one way to understand the jurisdictions that MPD, Metro Police Department, only monitors the outside of federal lands, so they don't have responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to support the Capitol. Furthermore, then you have Capitol Police, but then you also have Park Rangers. You have this, and then you have Secret Service. So all levels, as was reported by the current acting National Security Advisor Ken Cuccinelli, and I might have gotten his position wrong, but said that those reports were already discussed and that they had access to it. What he failed to say is that they didn't actively notify them about those reports, because it's like all these interagencies have access to information, but if you have a credible threat, usually you highlight those. And again, to Greg's point, if you have that credible source, that means the president was briefed on it. That means national security was briefed on it,
Exactly.
and they ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
Which part of the reason is that Mike Pence, the vice president, did not do the bidding of the president. So I mean, and I think that for many people, nobody wants to sit there to assume that from the highest position that a coup d'etat was in the works and was ordered from that position. But we've seen these same type of reports when you talk about a Venezuela, when you talk about a Cuba, when you talk about whatever any number of countries with dictatorships and anarchists, that this is the same type of situation. And so yeah, it goes much further up and much more broader than I think that most people want to believe.
Yeah, I
And
wanted to say that.
let's not forget it, Trump firing the Pentagon advisors a month before this.
Oh yeah, yes, yes, absolutely. The top Pentagon officials are
Exactly.
gone.
Exactly.
A matter of fact, every single majority of the cabinet positions as it relates to our national security have are majority of them are all acting. I don't think
Mhm.
there is one national security. Uh, uh, I think Mike Pompeo is the only one, and he does with foreign affairs.
Right.
He's a State Department, but I think
Mhm.
he's the only one as it relates to any type of level of security for the country, um, foreign or domestic, that I think is an actual confirmed director from our cabinet member that was confirmed by Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So there's a
Yeah.
yeah.
lot of
So
vacancies.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of vacancies. A lot. And Chris
So
put
there
a
was
in the chat
nobody.
room that Pence became a target.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So he
Yeah.
pretty
Okay.
much paved the way, made it real easy,
Mm-hmm.
for him to be able to manipulate, our national defense in that in this situation. With to me,
Right.
and again, it's just my opinion, but with being able to even attempt a coup,
Yeah. Yeah.
no opposition.
So you're basically saying that it was a coup attempt, right?
Yes, it was.
That's still the
Yeah,
way I see
yeah.
it.
And that's the way I
Yeah,
see
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So we all are in agreement on that. It was a coup attempt, and it was an act of war.
Right.
absolutely.
So yeah, one of the chat in
Well,
the chat room, Silk Road in
That's
New York
seditious.
said also
yeah.
Pelosi was a target. They were all targets,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
basically.
But
One.
it's all going to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all
definitely.
going to
Yeah,
come
definitely
out.
going to come out. Because you got,
Yeah.
I mean, you got some very smart people working on this, especially when Joe Biden takes over.
And
You got some people that they got some payback coming.
when
You
the
know,
fire gets hot, people start squealing.
yeah, yeah. But these people, I don't think. I think they know a lot of them were ex-military, current. You got people from the FDNY,
Hmm.
the NYPD. They're everywhere within the fabric of society, and these are not dumb people. They must to have weighed, the pros and cons and the cause and effect, and what could be expected for them to
I think that's
make that move.
Walter. I think that's an element that also disarmed the Capitol Police when confronted. They're confronted with these guys that say, "Hey, I'm like you. I'm on the job. This, that, and the other." And they got badges to flash, and so that also, to me, is how the rank and file guys that was put out there just they let their guard down.
Well, we'll
And
see.
they,
Was
Mhm.
actually some voluntarily left their post.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I've, I've, I've,
Yeah,
I've been watching this ever since prior to the election, watched all the way through the election, and I sit down every day. I keep seeing it on um, all day. And so I've
Hmm.
seen it. They've actually left their post. There was a one Capitol police officer who actually put on a MAGA hat and was actually asking for assistance and helping the talking with the rioters who were coming in.
Hmm.
Um, there were like again, tall latitude, longitude, as far as far and wide as this may reach, as to the individuals who were involved. And one thing I want to make sure, I know that you had left in your monologue about it being a war, but I don't want people to get that too confused. One, it was an insurrection. It was an attempted coup because it wasn't successful. And anyone and for when we use the word sedition is the actual speech that was actually used, not necessarily an act of they were seditious in their speech. As far as and I just want people, as far as the clarity in the words that we're using as we continue on with this discussion.
Good
I
point.
agree, but
Yeah.
no, I don't agree though, because I mean, once
Okay.
they crossed the threshold of the Capitol, all
Yeah.
right, and went on about breaking and looking for people to hang and this and that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's more than just vocalizing. All right, that is an attempt to overthrow. I mean, that was an attempt to look for people. I mean, they were wearing what do you call these things where you tie your hands, they bound your hands. These what do you have?
Restraints, zip ties,
Restraint, right? And they
restraints.
had
Yes.
some
Zip
people had
cuffs.
weapons and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, this goes way beyond vocalizing sedition. These were actually acts of war. They were looking to get hostages, to hang people. They wanted to hang Mike Pence. They want to hang Pelosi. So no, this is not just no. We have to take it for what it is and realize that this was way out there. This was an act of war, and whatever applies to it. And I think treason is what we should call it. It was an act. It was treasonous what they did, and they still won't stand down. I don't see any apologies coming. They're planning for their next attack all 50 capitals in the United States. Let's not play it down. Let's play it like they play it. I mean, they are literally fighting to overthrow the government. So let's just call it what it is.
One of the things that I use the word offended, but this really doesn't offend me. It upsets me, but I'm not offended because it doesn't surprise me. I've pretty much set myself up to almost expect that from certain factions. But look how many people in that riotous group embrace Nazism, embrace the Confederacy. Really, how can the word patriot come out of your mouth when you embrace those criminal elements, as far as I'm concerned? The Confederacy and Nazism is so far from being a patriot, this misguided nationalism and that's the center of a lot of their problems.
Okay. We just got Chris in the house. Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Hey, yes.
What's
What's
happening,
going
Chris?
on, folks? How y'all doing?
Good.
All right. How's it
I'm
going,
good.
man? You been following?
I'm good. Yes, I've been following. Bake, cooking away. Baby girl's birthday.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I want to wish a happy birthday to Chris's
Big
daughter.
happy birthday.
All right.
Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah.
And
So,
happy
Chris, are you able to
birthday to
do?
Happy birthday. One more birthday too. Martin Luther King's birthday today. So
That's right.
Oh
acknowledge
yes,
it.
That's right.
I like it.
yes,
That's right.
yes. It's a 3-day weekend too for a lot of folks.
Yes.
Yeah, from Monday.
So yes, I've been listening, and
Mhm.
a couple of things I want to add. I want to add that I believe that you had a lot of people in Congress, not a lot, but you had a few of them that I believe that were involved in this. I think the young lady from Georgia, I can't remember her name. I was trying to remember her name. The one in the Q-Anon. She was basically giving her coordinates through Twitter while this was going on, and I think she was close to Pelosi in proximity. And I want to believe that she was giving them coordinates, telling them where Pelosi was at the time of this was taking place. And they gave people tours of the building the day before. I mean, it looks like this was, it was better planned, well planned than we thought. I mean, these
Yeah, that
people
was a good.
had a shot at pulling this off.
Yeah, if they got the right people. If they got the right
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Seconds.
Yeah.
What they said with
We're close.
the officer that the officer that distracted them, they were
Yeah,
seconds away from them. Like,
from Pence.
it's
Yeah,
crazy.
Hey, Chris, I
Yeah,
think
it's crazy.
one.
are you
And
talking about
mhm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah, yeah. She, the one who's gonna bring up Biden. She wants to impeach Biden as soon as he's sworn in. This
Well,
whack
she's just,
job.
you know, she's just one of those
But
crazy. So I mean, just ignore her. Yeah.
listen, they voted her in, so it says a lot about the people in that area there. But I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
say that for many of these people, it's not treason because America has a lot of, soul searching to do. They got a lot of reckoning to do themselves with what this country really is and what really the foundation that this country was built on. It was built on white supremacy and, slavery. So they don't think this is treasonous acts. They believe that they have the right to do these things. That is the problem here in this country. And we have to come to terms with what nobody wants to live in the past, but we have to acknowledge what the past created here and deal with it so we can move forward as a full society with everybody having an equal say. This has everything to do about, sure, black people and brown people are not the majority in this country, but white people were split down the middle with the vote, and black people pushed it over the top. And they don't want black people picking their elected officials.
Well,
It's
that goes to the
clear.
heart of the matter, Chris. You hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head. You definitely hit the nail on
Yes.
the head with that. Because I mean, all the problems with, rigged elections and recounts and specific recounts in Georgia and Pennsylvania had to do with urban communities. The votes coming out of urban
Absolutely.
communities. Okay, they
Houston,
don't think that we
Detroit.
have a right to choose the president, to choose our elected
Exactly.
officials. That's what they're basically saying, that we don't have that right. But we do have that right because we are Americans. Okay, so just like they came over here, I mean, even the Capitol was built by us. So
Exactly.
Yep.
the attack on the Capitol was attack on every American. Okay, especially us. And that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I justify it. That's why I think that this is such a somber time, such an important time that it will lead me into this next question that I have. I think that we as Black Americans need to be ready to support the defense of this country if need be, which we always do. Okay, but there must be a quid pro quo. All right, I know y'all heard that term, right, with Trump and this guy out of
Yeah.
Eastern Europe.
Yes.
Okay,
Recently.
but you can use that. You can use that in this case. In this case, and I want to know whether y'all guys agree because we this may be, like Chris said, half of the country. All right, that voted for Trump may feel this way and may feel like, okay, this America it has gone too far. There's too many blacks and too many brown people with too much. All right. Ergo, you have all these groups, okay, like Q-Anon and the Boogaloo Boys and so I
Proud
think that,
Boys.
I mean, what do y'all guys think? I think that we have to be, it may not be just specific to the Capitol, it may hit the street. All right. This is a possibility. I mean, I do think in worst case scenarios, because when I do threat assessments, that's what I look to mitigate the worst case scenarios. I put that on the board first. All right. Then I work backwards. So what's the worst that can happen? All right. This could hit the streets and the neighborhoods because there's so many of them. We have no idea. All right. I think families can be split over this. But I'm going to go back to the panel with this question. All right, with the quid pro quo question. Okay, Black Americans need to leverage this. I hate to just throw that out there, but Chris, I mean, that was a segue that I needed because that's the way I'm thinking. All right, with the situation the way it
I
is now.
agree. I agree. And I mentioned today on one of my social media posts, there is no more group, there's no group of people more patriotic than Black Americans. We fought, our ancestors fought in wars where they had no rights here, and they still fought in those wars with the hopes that one day they will be treated equally. So there's no one more patriotic than that. You could find nobody more patriotic than that. But we cannot do that again and come out on the short end of the stick.
Absolutely.
It can't happen again. You know, we're too vital to the workings, the inner workings of this country. Everything that has taken place, everything that has been built in this country, we've either done it or we've been a big part of it. And we can't take a back seat here. Not at all, especially when we are target number one. You know, we're the main target here.
Yeah, they called us out.
Yep.
They called us out.
Yep.
I would like to hear from Ernest. Ernest, what do you think about this?
No, I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, it's one of those things that I think that when looking at some of the people who have been elevated from the QAnon and that has insurrected into the ranks of Capitol Police, into Congress, and who are a part of the situation. I think it turns into us that we need to do a better job of not just doing voter education and registration. And I mentioned this before, but we need to start selecting and promoting, nurturing, grooming our leaders from within our communities to being able. Yes, we have an African American woman who's going to be the vice president, and we have some great leaders that's out there in New York who are representing. But we need more individuals in many different places. We need Black governors and mayors, more of them that can represent and echo this. And so, to Chris's point, we've been there through the very, very beginning of everything, back to Jamestown, all the way through the Louisiana Purchase and everything else that we've done in this country. And so we need to understand where our value is and not just say it, but we need to show it. My mom always
Absolutely.
said, when you the man, you ain't never got to say that you the man. And so if we understand that we are a valuable and proud people, and that we bring and add value to this country, we don't have to say it, but we need to make sure that we show it. And when we walk into the room, the ground must shake every time. As a man, the ground must shake every time you walk. And so we should not accept anything less, but we need to make sure that we're still continuing to give more.
There you go. If you're not speaking, please go on mute. Yeah, I agree with you on this. And another, I mean, as you know, as a byproduct of getting ready for this show, I was looking back at past wars, especially after the Civil War, 1866. There was I don't know what the old guys refer to it as, a company or a regiment called the Buffalo Soldiers. Has anybody heard of them?
Absolutely.
Well, the
Of
Buffalo
course.
Soldiers. Well,
I mean, any African American military member, that's going to be somebody they look up to. That's somebody we all know.
you
Was the
know. So y'all
Buffalo
guys know
Soldiers.
that's why you laughing at me. Such an
Absolutely.
elementary question. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I forgot who I was talking to. I'm talking to them. You have my part. Pardon me, please. Okay, but
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, you got these groups that are coming from the Midwest and the West, like Oklahoma and places like that, not realizing that after 1866, that these soldiers fought the Indian Wars. All right, they
Yeah.
died to make sure that these people could settle. All right, they killed
Yeah.
Indians. They made sure that Indians went to the reservation. 20% of the fighting was done by African Americans.
Right. But see, that's not something for us to celebrate in context,
No,
because
no,
yeah.
I'm not. I'm
Right.
not
No.
saying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that there has to be an appreciation of all that we have contributed. All right, people
Yes.
should know. There's not in the history books. All right, so I'm just saying, as a part of my research for this show, doing my research, I came across this.
Hmm.
Uh, And I was surprised of the level of effort of them being out front, all right, to ensure that these settlers had their land and they could grow the country, from the east to the west. All right, but we've been in all. I mean, from the Revolutionary War forward, the black man has been there fighting and dying, and like we said, we don't get enough appreciation, and we get the short end of the stick every time. So what I'm saying, guys, is that what I'm looking at is what are we going to get out of this situation? How do we grab the opportunity, which I believe is in front of us, is right there to take advantage of? And what are we going to do about that? Because I think this thing is very, very broad. Okay, and I hate to be redundant in what I'm saying, but I'm trying to get to the point where we have to understand that we need to take advantage of this situation. All right.
I
Now,
think,
Chris, you spoke to it, and Greg, is that you?
yeah, I think Ernest, brought up a good point a little earlier about not just voter education and not just, indoctrinating our youth into, what goes on in the political process, but part of that is also indoctrinating them in what goes on in the economic process, in finance, in entrepreneurship, in real estate, getting them to understand that it's there. It's there. We have to take it, regardless of the kickback we get from people that don't want to give it to us. Those are obstacles that we are going to have to learn to overcome. It's there, and we need to take it. It's that simple. Not please, can I have it? That's up for grabs. Then I'm going to get it and take it. That's
There you
the
go.
mentality we need to have. Like, we're not asking master to give it to us. We taking it, and
I
there's
also
nothing
think,
illegal or illegitimate about that. Yeah, Chris.
but I think the problem too is the other half of the country that voted with us needs to speak up. It can't just be us because we are not the majority here. And they've spent the last 30, 40 years scrubbing us from history, trying to eliminate the accomplishments that we've made. They need to atone for that. They need to come out and say, yes, we were wrong. Yes, they've contributed this. Some of these companies that have gotten just generational wealth off of our ideas and our backs need to say that.
Mm-hmm.
That goes a long way with helping us recognize our place in this country. Part of the problem, yes, we could do all the things that we want to do, but we still don't control the narrative here. And they have to stand up because their way of life is at stake right now. It's not just ours, it's theirs.
That's
Because
the
when they're
trigger.
finished with us, there's a new enemy they got to look for. Okay, we done with them. You sided with them too. We coming for you now. So they need to stand up with us. It's not just a lot of people said it wasn't our fight out at the Capitol. No, it wasn't our place to be out there with that foolishness and that craziness. But it is our fight because we're the vocal point of the fight. And they're
Well,
coming for
I
us.
agree with you, Chris.
oh yeah, I mean, once they do that, they definitely coming for us.
I agree with
I mean,
you.
that is the end goal. They're coming for us to set us back, to put us back in slavery, or whatever they think. But what I got to say is that I see an opportunity here. All right, and I want to know whether y'all guys see an opportunity. All right.
Yeah.
We
I'm,
do, but
yeah.
it's still bigger than us. We need the Joe Bidens of the world to stop saying this is not America. This is America. This is us.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
the first. Yeah, this is America. Those people out front. Yeah, that's America. That's part of this country. They need to stop saying it's not because it is.
But I mean, Chris, I mean, I think to your same point, it's not just quote unquote them saying it. And there's many of us who are saying the same thing. So they're echoing what's being said as far as not acknowledging the fact that this is the fabric of America. There's many of us who believe that we arrived, years ago when Dr. King had gave the speech. There are people who still don't think that we deserve to have more. Many people who will argue against the premise of reparations, not even the context of it and everything else, but just the mere idea of the fact that African Americans will get something different than anybody else, or education, or access to get rid of food deserts. There's a lot of people who look like you and I who will say the same thing. Like, why are y'all making all this noise? Why are you asking for more? We had a black president. They'll
You're
say
right,
we.
Ernest.
There's no such thing as
But
racism.
because
Yeah,
yes, but that happens because they control the narrative. Many people on our side that speak like that, they don't know what they're talking about. They speak because they're not educated in this country. They don't know the history. And that's part of the process. By scrubbing the history, people really don't know. But when you begin to tell them, when they begin to say, we made mistakes and we admit to these truths, and we will give reparations because we owe these people, people will start to believe. When you start teaching it in the public schools the way you're supposed to, teaching the true history of this country, people will grow up knowing what they're worth out the gate. Because they don't teach these things, because they've taken shows like Eyes on the Prize and all of these things off of television. You can't search them up anymore. It's so hard to find all this history because they are just steadily scrubbing us out of it. That will in turn encourage people to know more about what's going on here.
I had to give you a clap on that one. That was well said.
I think
You hit the nail on the head. I keep using that term, but that was well good, Chris. Thank you.
No problem.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I think I mean, I definitely agree, with what Chris said. But I think part of it, a part of we talk about them not knowing their history, but there's people knowing your history goes a great deal to what creates that false narrative that that gives them that white supremacist mindset in the first place.
Right?
Is a false sense of their history. I mean, because to me, honestly, I'm still of the one blood philosophy. If you take it all the way back, you know what I mean? It all comes from the same thing. There is no superiority or inferiority. And the differences that you like to flaunt over people in this society is nonsense. It's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. So it's us knowing our history on one side, but them accepting true history on the other side. A
Okay.
combination of the two. So where I'm kind of going with this is, when do we start healing instead of attacking? And I know, the impetus is we like to say that we're not the ones attacking, but some of us might have to be be big boys, and we got to start the healing somewhere, because this is the way it's been going and it ain't working.
Well,
But I
I
don't
think
think
to
that there should be should be referred to as healing. I think that this should be referred to as doing the job that's been sitting there waiting for us to do. Right now, having traveled, all over the world, and I know you all guys have,
Mm-hmm.
I have
Mhm.
found out that the American descendants of slaves. That's what I'm talking about now. They are the least respected people on earth. Why is that? Could anybody tell me why that is?
we well one
That's 2 or 3 shows, but go ahead.
yeah
Well, I know, but I think
That's
that
yeah
that's
this
the
is
perception that's put out there about us, the media, and I think some places also think of us as being weak, that we didn't fight back.
that's right. That's the
Which
key
is
right there.
which is not true. Many people lay down their lives fighting back. It's not true, and that's part of the narrative that's put out there. That's part of the media blitz. That's part of the scrubbing. All of that goes into why we are viewed that way.
Mm-hmm.
We not the great things that we've accomplished in the face of such hardship. We've still managed to be to produce great Americans, great human beings in the face of everything, and that should stand as a testament to who we are and what we are, not the narrative that they put out there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to who we are and what we're capable of. Because I don't think, because if we look at through history, it was sometimes it was a minority of us within our own demographic who stood up for what was right. There's many more of us in more in a lot of different stages of history who have who went along to get along and didn't want to shake the boat. And so there was a lot of people who fought against the thoughts of W.E. Du Bois, or Booker T. Washington, or Marcus Garvey, or Medgar Evers, or Martin Luther King, you name them all. Many of us turned against us. Many of us didn't want to hear what the truth was. And I think one of the things, in order to being able to, whether we want to call it healing, whether we want to call it doing what's right there in front of us, as Walt said, we need to redefine and come in, or like they say in church, touch and agree on what the truth is. So that way, that's where we can start at. Because now the truth has been twisted and perverted in so many different ways, and in many cases, perpetuated by our behaviors and or our words and how we describe ourselves or talk about certain situations, because we don't have a firm understanding of what the truth actually is.
Very sure. Now I got a I would call it an antidote, but I used to work out of my brother-in-law's office in Sierra Leone, Freetown, Sierra Leone, when I was doing my gold thing. So anyway, between 8 and 4, we're in the office, we're doing business. And on one day, North Korean businessman came to meet with my brother-in-law, because my brother was a supplier of materials to the government of Sierra Leone. Anyway, this North Korean came to meet with my brother-in-law. Do you know he would not come into that office once he found out that an American was inside? He didn't give a damn whether I was black or white. The only thing he cared about was the fact that I was American. So until I left, he actually saw me leave the office, did he meet with my brother-in-law. All right. So that just goes to show you that, I mean, we are Americans. Okay. We are perceived as Americans. Okay. So
could I say something to Ernest's point earlier?
yeah, go
I
ahead.
agree that many of us have turned against each other, right? And when W.E.D. Du Bois and all, but it wasn't just because we didn't want to side with them. They were brutal to us. They beat us down. They killed us. If they found you siding with anybody, they found you reading, they found you trying to vote. I mean, there was a concerted effort to be brutal as possible to us. So that also helped put us in place. It wasn't because we didn't go fighting. They just had the upper hand when it came to that. They were as brutal as can be. They probably got worse during Jim Crow, if you could even imagine. And still we pushed through. So it wasn't the majority of us didn't side with them. It was just that we were fighting a lot of battles all over the place. I mean, they were coming and burning people out, burning your homes down, taking your children out in the middle of the night. These people are wicked. It was, when you got your foot on somebody's neck, they never let up. So it's hard to face down people like that when you're being attacked by a set of people that are inhumane. They just are disgusting.
But Chris, that, to your point, that's a part of our truth. That's the truth of it. And we can go all the way back to, matter of fact, in a quick analogy, which I know most everyone here has seen, Roots. I know, and I've seen the first one, and I even watched the second one. But one thing that I like um that Kuta Kente did was he tried to hold on to that. And to your point, it was beat out of him until he said that his name was Toby. But then he still fought to try to keep a hold on to his origins, his truth that he tried to hold on to, and then teach it to his kids. But as the series continued to go on, we saw how far away it got away from it. To your same point, if you knew how to read, if you try to hold on to your original name, try to hold on to your original language, they beat it out of you, and they beat it out of you until you just conformed to whatever they wanted to. But that's a part of our truth. Those are part of those same stories.
No, it is.
That chicken,
It is, but
yeah,
it's not the full narrative. Like people
yeah,
would
it's
think that
not.
we didn't hold positions in Congress when we first got the ability to vote. We did. We were in place in some
Part
of
of
these places.
Reconstruction
Yeah,
and
but
part of
then
Yes,
Jim
we
Reconstruction.
were.
Crow.
we-
But that was the
and they
reason for
beat it.
Jim Crow. Jim Crow
Yeah,
kicked in.
Exactly.
Once they started seeing us in Congress after slavery. All right, that's when Jim Crow kicked in.
The
yeah,
brutality that took place just to overturn that is
Yeah,
yeah.
is is
Exactly.
is also our
That's the
truth.
point I'm making.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
nobody,
And
but there are people out there that don't know after
but
Reconstruction we were in Congress because it's not taught.
what's
It's not spoken about.
a
very
startling coincidence is what's going on today. It's because the states were unhappy. The southern states were unhappy how the dynamic had changed. And the fact that now blacks, number one, they could vote, but they count as an equal person. And they couldn't have that. They
that's
couldn't
what it
have
pissed
that.
off
So
Yeah.
about. Yeah, yeah,
and but that
absolutely.
and that's what they are upset over today is that our vote made a difference and that we're making a difference. And now they're face to face. They're face
Yeah.
to face with
And,
their
I
own
and they see no
I
way to
had a guy
overcome that because that's
powerlessness.
only going to get worse
yeah.
as we.
Yeah,
It's only going to get
yeah.
worse. All right. But what
I
I
had
want to
a
do is
guy
I'm going to.
answer my post. Ernest, please. Walt,
What
let me
up?
just say this. I
Yeah,
had a guy answer me in a post saying that if I voted for a Democrat, I voted for the person that put me enslaved me and beat me. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, you don't know the difference between a Democrat, a Dixiecrat. You don't know what the hell you talking about. Let's be clear. It was Democrats and Republicans
that's right.
that put
Both of
us
them.
into slavery.
I'm
It was
Absolutely.
both
Yeah.
of them. So there's
I'm
no
so
Absolutely.
choice
tired
here.
of that old title argument. Oh yeah, it was the Democrat Party that did this and the Republican. Okay, we
Yeah.
understand the dynamics of what took place. You know what I mean? That it's still it was a faction of a criminal element that came in, enslaved us, beat us, criminalized us. So whether you can call them what you want to call them, but
Right.
Both
and say, but
parties.
the party as it stood then ain't the party that it stands to be now.
And
And the
Yeah.
right, the
Republicans were the
Yeah.
party
Democrats,
of,
which
were
were the
known as the party of,
Dixiecrats.
right.
Exactly, exactly. But
Yes.
Yeah.
none of them studied that much. None
But
of them
all of a
looked that
sudden,
far into it.
and I said to him, all of a sudden you care
Yeah.
about what the Democrats did to me did to my people back then. All of a sudden, it's a concern for you. Give me a freaking break.
When they spend half their lives denying it happened.
All
Exactly.
right.
Now
All
because
right.
you lost, you wanna recognize that. Get out of here.
Okay, but let's get back to this. Y'all guys are leading me. Yeah, no, but well made. All the well made. All right, we have to acknowledge that. All right. Now, I think that the assets of our adversaries, these people that we're talking about, like the one that communicated with you, Chris, if they're part of what's going on with the capital and the threat to the 50 capitals of our states, should I think that if they lose and they're found out, they're arrested and this and that, I think that we should take, as in any war, take their wealth, freeze their assets, redistribute their wealth, and that wealth should be redistributed to the Black community. That's what I think. Now, what do y'all guys think about that in terms of what is the punishment? And I think we touched
That's the
upon it last
assumption
week.
that they have anything to take. Lots of them didn't have nothing to take in the first place.
But some
So
of
I
them
mean,
do.
And
yeah,
I mean, this is
no,
not
I agree
mafia.
with
You
that.
can't equate that. You can't equate it. You can't equate that to the
yeah,
mafia or anything. All right, because
no,
if
no.
it was mafia, you can invoke RICO, the RICO Act, and that's what I think we should do anyway with these people. But no, go ahead, Ernest.
Yeah, no, yeah. Again, it's the assumption that they have something to take. I think that that as it relates to treason, as it relates, and what the maximum, what the law allows in that particular set is that's what should happen. And honestly, I don't think anybody should have anything more or less. Because I mean, I believe a lot of them are just absolutely ignorant, and I think that the person at the highest level, I think that that's where it should start at. When many of them, when they're grown, so they make their own decisions, but they were invited explicitly by the president of the United States. And so I think that should set the tone to what should happen to everyone else who participated actively. So just like a murder in which there were 5 people who were killed, if you're an accessory, you get the same amount of time. So I think that
Right.
what happens at the top is what should be reflected at the bottom.
Mhm.
Okay.
But let's say this. Did you see some of the people standing in front of the cameras? These people are giving their names and the places that they come. Half of them, the most ignorant people on the planet, they ain't got no money. They ain't got
Might,
nothing.
you
Some
might
of
as well
them.
have an arrest me sign
But
on
but some of
Just,
them
there.
got.
yeah.
But hey, but Chris, some of
Yeah,
them got 50
a
acres
few
and
of
a
them
mule.
do, but
Some of them got 50 acres and a
yeah,
mule. There
you're
were a
right.
lot of them in there like that.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right. You're
Where I
right.
mean,
But I mean,
we still
he
do. We still do. This is a
in
good
order
opportunity for us
in
to
order
get
for
something.
him to pull this off,
Yeah.
he needed the most ignorant people he could find to follow this, and he had them out there. I mean, the woman that says she got pepper sprayed in her face, and then she go, we were storming the Capitol. I mean, where did they find these stupid people? I mean, Jesus.
Well, he's on camera
But
saying that he's on camera saying that he really loves uneducated people. That's
yeah,
Yes,
he,
well,
he
those
said it
are
at a rally.
yes.
yeah,
They
Yeah,
make the
at a
yeah.
best
rally.
poems.
But
It's amazing.
now looking at the people that they're seeing on camera that were in the Capitol, you had in there current and former law enforcement officials,
Yep.
officers. You had former military personnel.
Yep.
You had senior business executives, and you had
Olympic gold
middle-aged
medalist.
business owners. I mean, so all
Yep.
of them weren't dummies.
Olympic medalist.
Oh wait,
No,
wait,
there
Olympic
no,
were
medalists.
one of the gubernatorial candidates for Virginia was there,
Exactly.
That's what I'm
and West
saying.
Virginia
Virginia.
legislator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys can't put them all on one in one category and say, yeah, they're all dummies. No, you had some smart people. You had people that understood, that
Yeah,
understand
understood.
the
They weren't smart,
consequences.
but they
You're right.
understood.
You're right. You're right. Listen, when you radicalize people, man, you could get them to do anything, boy. And these people are just off the radar. They are just gone, man.
And
Gone.
I think some people just want to be a part of it. Like, I mean, there was one matter of fact, and then there's some that are just are literally just they have some issues. One person had actually said, "I don't care about Trump being in office. I just want a war."
Yeah.
It's just like
That was a
Batman.
quote.
When he said in Batman, some people just want to burn it all down. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these
It's
people
the
have been
truth.
preparing. These people have been preparing for civil war for decades. That's why the Fourth Amendment, I mean, the Second Amendment was so dear and it's so dear to them because they got to have their guns. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying everybody that wants a gun. I have a gun, yeah, but they wanted guns to go on offense because they saw the
Yeah.
Civil War coming.
Yeah.
All right, they see it coming.
They've been
without
being
trouble.
told this for their whole lives.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm face to face with it down here.
North
Yeah,
Carolina.
I mean, it just, it's amazing to me. I think one of the issues and not really an issue I have with what you're saying with us taking the assets of of people that are found complicit in this, but do we really? Who do we leave that up to allocate those funds? Leave that up to the government, who's known for their fiscal irresponsibility.
Yeah, but
Who's it up to?
who do we have that can do it? You know, I
No, that's my
mean,
only
if
question.
they
The same
seize
thing with reparations.
if they seize and freeze the assets of these people,
Mhm.
it has to be a government. Just like I said, I'm going back to war.
Mhm.
You know, they started a war. So in war, you can seize
Yeah.
assets. All right. Now,
Now,
whether
where the
it
money
gets to us
was
is another
with the
thing.
Mo Brookses of the world. But
Oh
you're right,
yeah.
there was money there, but it was the people in Congress, the Mo Brooks of the world.
Right.
Mhm.
Though
But you,
Yup.
listen, you can't tell me he wasn't directly involved with this. The way he spoke at that
oh yeah,
rally,
definitely.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. No, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
I believe so.
There's no
he
doubt
And knew
about
wanted
exactly.
he almost wanted to tell on himself.
Yeah.
that.
You know how it is. Let me tell you something. When you're a racist and a white supremacist, it is so hard for them to go out through their day-to-day chores holding that back in. So many of them want to just let it go,
They're proud.
and they can't.
They're proud of it.
Yep. They want to
Yeah,
wear
yeah.
it right. They want to be proud of it.
They want to
They
stand
think
on the
they're
mountain and tell
patriots.
everybody.
Well,
That makes them a patriot.
I think y'all guys know that they did get the guy that was carrying the Confederate flag up and down.
Yeah, him and
You
his
know?
son.
Yeah, they got him.
They got him and his father.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, they
Yep.
arrested both
They
of them.
got the
So
two
it's
police officers.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So and then I mean I had to do a double take, triple take, quadruple take. There was a black guy in that attack, in that group
There
of
was 3 or
people.
4.
All right. And I'm wondering myself, what the hell? I can't believe this. You know, the guy, I mean, he's a dark skinned guy, not like he was, like interracial. The guy was, come to find out, he was the leader. This guy is the
Oh, Ali.
leader of
Ali.
Enrique
Not Ali.
Tarrio.
Not.
Enrique
Oh no,
Tarrio.
he's Cuban.
He's
Proud
Cuban.
Boys.
He's the leader of the Proud Boys.
The
That's
Proud
right.
Boys.
He's
He's
the
a
leader of
no,
the
no.
Proud.
You will not call him an Afro-Cuban. He'll be insulted.
But he's
Exactly.
black.
He is
He's
one of
ready to fight.
yeah, but he's one of those Cubans that Castro ran out of the country that think they're white.
Yeah,
He hates black people.
but he's black. He's black.
You and I both know it, but he doesn't believe that. He don't believe. And there was another black guy in a group. He was in a group of people saying FBLM. I said, "What in the hell is wrong with this fool?" He was standing with them. It just boggles the mind, man. Some
Yeah.
people are gone though. You can't bring them back.
No, you can't. They just gone. They just take them out and let them walk the plank.
But
For lack of a
I thought
better.
Enrique was in jail though, because they arrested him
They
before
arrested
the
him.
rally.
They arrested him on his
Yeah.
way into DC.
Yeah, I
They
don't
arrested
think he
him on
was
his
in
way.
jail, but he was a part of his release on whatever was he couldn't go anywhere near the Capitol. He couldn't go anywhere
Yeah.
near the Capitol that day.
Yeah, he was on the
Mhm.
way. This guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've been, and I found this to be very true, is that in chaos, there's opportunity. And I think we touched upon a lot of possible or potential opportunities that could be realized, from this thing. But I do want to go back to one other question that I have. I think it's critical that we attempt to answer with you guys. And the question is, do you think that come Monday, Tuesday, and the day of the inauguration, that these threats of attacks on all 50 state capitals will be realized? What do y'all guys think? Are you afraid? You think we have enough guys? Are we in overkill? Or, are we overstating it? What are your thoughts along those lines? Are these people really going to attempt to carry this type of thing out?
I think a small number of them will, but I don't think it will be as many as they believe. And I think part of what their plan is to have us in fear like we are right now. That's part of the plan to keep people on edge, to lock everything down. You know, that's some of the goal as well. I don't think that they're going to do it in all 50 states, but I do think they're going to try to implement it in some places.
Like some of the
Yeah,
battleground states.
yeah, like Virginia I believe for sure. I believe maybe some places out in North Carolina. I say Virginia because it's Richmond, which was
Right,
the
right, right.
capital of the
Okay. Yeah.
Confederacy. Yeah, yeah. And so I think I need some places down in Georgia because I know that there's a lot of Georgians who's upset about this election. Um, some of those places out even in Oregon because of the previous protests that's currently going on there now. And are we ready? Nah. I don't think we got the manpower. There's far too many people who guard us in DC right now for the inauguration. But I also do believe that because of a lot of family and friends who are currently right now sending anonymous tips to the FBI, I think some people may reconsider coming to anywhere in the country. So I think some of the tips that's been going, where they want to call it snitching or whatever, I think some of those individuals may rethink doing anything because they'll get told on. So I think it might be not as bad as originally predicted.
Okay.
Don't be surprised if Staten Island and Long Island are in there too, because
Yeah,
they
I
got a
agree.
large contingency.
They have a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that definitely can happen.
Yeah, I think there's going to be. I think there's going to be some unrest that day. Like Ernest said, Richmond possibly. There's no way I'm going to say nothing's going to happen in North Carolina, but you play Michigan is someplace you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Pennsylvania maybe.
Arizona, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania. I mean, you got to keep your eye. And I think now it's not going to be a surprise. So if any state government gets caught with their pants down, it's their own fault, or they got people inside, that just doesn't want to deal with it and that want, any kind of overthrow to be successful. So everybody, it's on everybody's radar now, and if they don't prepare themselves properly, it's their own fault. And we all got to keep our eyes open.
Okay. All right. So we're pushing up against the clock, guys, again. And is there any other comments that Ernest, Chris, that y'all guys like to make on this?
I would just say that one, I hope everyone tunes in on Wednesday. Walter, you had led off that this is a somber occasion, but I think it's still one that needs to be marked. I think that the stories that need to be told as far as our truth, whether it's from slavery or even to today, that it needs to be told in its entirety, and given the proper respect, to be passed on to those who come after us. There's also a time period for us to actually be able to remember, because many of us weren't there when Mega Evers, when things happened back in the past, but we are here today. So I think that it's it's bittersweet to be here in this moment, but I think we should, kind of reflect on what does this moment mean? What can I do more? Who else can I inspire? Who else can I groom? Who else can I nurture to being able to lead us on to a better days tomorrow?
That's well said. Well said. That's great.
Excellent.
I need one of those. Thank you. Greg, you have anything?
Great shows, guy.
No, shoot, Ernest said it all.
That's
it.
All right.
Great show.
Yes, before I turn it over to Michelle, I just want y'all guys.
She wants you to close out.
Michelle's turning it over to you.
Oh, she's turning it over to me.
She can't close out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I would like for the new people that came on the show today, Hopefully, you were able to find some value in the experience of our great panel. We're here every Friday, and you can get us on the Podbean app, and that's for iPhone or Android, doesn't matter. Follow the Walt Weekly podcast. Okay. And we're on all wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us. Okay. Whether that be Apple, Spotify, etc. I'd like to thank our panel, because without our panel and their expertise and experience, a lot of topics we would not be able to cover. So we're always looking to find value. So like, share, follow this show if you haven't done so. And we, again, have a nice weekend. And you can find us on Instagram at Walt Weekly. You can also find us on Facebook at Walt Weekly. And we also have our website, and that is www.thewaltweekly.com. Please visit and subscribe and send us your emails. Okay, and that's thewaltweekly@gmail.com. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And I was caught off guard, but thank you, Michelle. I need to practice. All right, guys.
Day
Thank you.
of
Have a
service
great
on
weekend,
Monday.
guys.
Day of
Yes.
service on Monday. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Peace.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
Out.
Stay well, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Yes.
All right,
You
bye-bye.
too.